We're going to have a story time this time.
Remember, I've been gone for 2 weeks. Marlene and I got our Sunday with the head, but we had a good time. And who are we talking about? All right. And I think we had to review because, you know, like I say, I'm ancient. And while I was gone, Jerry, Joey, Marlene, and I, now we're all the same age. Isn't that exciting? Isn't it weird? Anyway, we keep moving on up in the age bracket. So what do we know now? Let's just think about Ellen White. She had what kind of a vision? What did she have when they walked up the little narrow way? Did a traveling angel show her heaven? Did we not talk about how beautiful it was? How everything looked? And what we were going to do there? And did Ellen take this really well? Did she get upset? Did she want to be God's messenger? Not at first, did she? No. And her traveling companion, her angel, told her she was supposed to do what with what she saw in heaven? That's right. She was afraid. You know, she was only 17 years old, and she didn't know quite how to go about this. How could she do it? So she stayed in her room a long time and just pleaded with God because she didn't send somebody else. Do we do that ourselves some days? That we don't want to tell somebody about God? When we have an opportunity to say, that sun is so pretty that God gave us today? Sometimes we don't want to do it either. Ellen didn't want to do it either. So she came down one day and she said to her father, Daddy, you know, I know the Lord wants me to do this, but I'm only 17. How can I do it myself? How will this happen? He said, you have to trust in God. She says, but if you could go with me, but I know you have the hat factory to take care of and mom and the house and everything. He said, the Lord will work it out. You must have faith in God. So she did. And remember they had that prayer, and she had this friend, Mr. Pearson, who was crippled. And we just talked about this, I think, the last time I was here. And what did he see when everybody else was kneeling and he couldn't kneel because he couldn't get down on his knees? What did God want him to see? Anybody remember? It was a ball of fire that came down and hit Ellen right on her heart, and she went flat on the ground, and everybody else was praying, and he saw it, and when they all got out, what did he say? He said, I believe that Sister White knows the truth, and I will do all I can do to help. And that was a sign that also helped Ellen. Then she realized she had a mission to do, and she was going to do it. And the next morning, she got up, and her sister got up. They had no money. They heard the train whistle go, but they knew they had to be on there because her companion, Angel, told her she had to go to Portsmouth and tell the people about it. So she put the bonnets on, and she walked out the window. And what did she see out the window? Does anybody remember?
A carrot.
A horse. And it was all lathered up and sweaty because it had been running all night. And the driver hollered in, does anybody in the house need some money? And they said, yes, we do. He says, get in my buggy and I'll tell you all about it. And he woke up early in the morning, and he went, and his horse never ran so fast in his life because he was doing God's work. And he gave them the money, took them to the train station, and off they went. And now, they're now in Portsmouth, sitting in a house. And Ellen's going to be her first time to tell people outside of her own family. And they're all sitting there. And she told about the beautiful dream. and how the river went over the river of life. And the fruit was so beautiful. And the fields just sparkled. And she saw people working in the fields, and they all had their crowns. She described it all to them. It was just so wonderful. And when she got all done, there was a gentleman sitting in this chair. And he got down, and he stood up. What do you think his name was? Captain?
Joseph.
Very good. Captain Joseph Bates. He said, I enjoyed hearing what you said, Ellen, but I guess you'll just have to call me a doubting Thomas. What does that make you think of when you hear that? Who was called a doubting Thomas? That's right. And he said, I have to have more proof. I'm like the doubting Thomas. I have to stick my fingers in Christ's hands to make sure he did die and was resurrected. I believe your story. It sounds good, but I don't believe in it. And so, you know what's going to happen next week? We're going to find out if Faith really believed it. Did she get to change his mind?
Yeah.
Did they work together? We already know the answer, don't we? But next week we'll talk about how Joseph Bates got the word and knows that Ellen is. But we'll find that out for sure next week, okay? Because she was a servant of the Lord, wasn't she?
Amen.
And we know it. Thank you.